for a while, and then all of a sudden, I'm seeing them everywhere. Like
Yeah, I've got a few too.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't
I've
know.
looked through the currencies, just like they just seem to be. It just seems to be like a really evident pattern right now. And again, I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. Is there just huge turnarounds coming, or is there something else at
Maybe, but
play?
well, I've got no immediate answer. I've got to say, but
Hmm. Um,
it is it's a thing. I'm seeing them too. Maybe we're rubbing off on each other. I don't know.
well, maybe, maybe, but I even though I noticed them, I do tend to notice them. I've just not seen quite as many as I'm seeing. I'll show you just just to go through
Well,
the
there's one.
footsies. Well, there's one there, inverted head and shoulders. Oh, the footsie's a difficult one really because obviously everybody's looking for downside and there was some downside that came into play, but I'm finding it tricky. And this is no doubt a selling opportunity, but I'm finding it difficult to play. I mean, inverted head and shoulders, yeah, that's certainly a bit of an issue. There's S&P had this head and shoulders pattern, which is probably not quite played out, but there's one there as well. So those are head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders on the FTSE, head and shoulders on the Dow, euro dollar. I mean, there's a kind of head and shoulders pattern going on there, maybe an inverted head and shoulders going on there. Um, the dollar yen. um, where else did I see?
What's
So
going on?
I'm just getting told I'm talking the wrong way around. I'm not sure why. Nothing there, but in fact, maybe I'll list them down. But I just seem to. Oh, there's another one there, head and shoulders on the Aussie Swiss, and one of them is going to work out. Something's going to work out to be the right, to follow the right pattern. But I just don't remember seeing this many. I probably haven't shown that many, but
Well, I can show you a
oh,
few
there's another one
when it's my
here.
turn as
CAD
well.
Swiss, CAD Swiss. There's another one. Yeah, well, maybe we'll have a look in a second. Anyway, I suppose we should really sort of like talk about the FTSE and what is going to be the play with the FTSE. And what do we have? UK 100. Yeah. So I am finding it difficult to justify either direction. It has to be said right now. If I look at this on some of the longer term time frames, this is the hourly, and we are through this level here. So really, this should be collapsing to a degree. I listened into the Mnuchin and Jay Powell speech yesterday. Didn't
Hmm.
seem to shift the market that much, but when Donald Trump came out, it did shift it to the downside after he finished. But actually, he was incredibly positive as he always is. And maybe that's the other thing about this market that I'm finding it a little bit difficult. It, the market is getting back to work, and as it's getting back to work, there seems to be, or I would have thought there would be more speculation that things are okay, but we are obviously caught in this downdraft, and you've got like central bank, i.e. Jay Powell, and you've got Donald Trump, all talking things up. They're all really positive. Even Jay Powell is surprisingly quite positive right now. So they're talking things up, which
Do
would.
you think that's I don't know, a programmed approach? I'll put it
Yes, I
that way.
do. I
Mm.
do. I do think that's the case. But I have seen, in the past when they've said something positive, the market pops forward. It almost it seems like
Yep.
it doesn't need too much to go up, and I think maybe that's why I'm finding this tricky because the market doesn't need much excuse to buy up, and yet this time it seems to need more. So there's something different about the way the market is moving. Now that should mean that we should be looking to sell this one off, and I suppose I am, but with no conviction. I've got no conviction about the sell off, and I can't quite square that completely. So yeah, I'm just a bit out of sync, mate. As I said to you before, it might be kind of week 3 syndrome where I'm just I'm just waiting for the next week to start, and that might be all I do.
Yeah, look, I
But
think just sometimes the market isn't talking, and I'm not far from exactly where you are. I agree with that. I'm
yeah,
not seeing anything that's super duper standout, come and trade me type stuff right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
See a
Well,
few iffy things, but yeah,
yeah,
something I'm
exactly. I think that's what it
yeah.
is. On an iffy level, I could trade this, but I just, I don't know. But I've got a feeling I'm going to be wrong. I've got a feeling it may well be me. It might not be the charts. It might be me, and I have to accept that. But if that's the case, that's the case. I'll just have to make sure I don't get caught in. Good morning, Manuel. Good morning, Sweet. Good morning, Helen. And good morning, John. So let's have a look at the pound trade, mate, and see if I can get some clarity as I just wake my head up a little bit as well, and see if
Right,
anything
mate.
else can transpire here.
Okay, we've got a 1 candle range today, and let's see if we can find a winner. I didn't get an entry yesterday. I cancelled the order before I went to bed, so I've got no idea how that panned out. I haven't seen a chart since 9 o'clock this morning my time, which is now 8 hours ago. Let's have a look. I've already placed the parameters up there. I don't know if they changed in the last few minutes. The low of that candle, that can't be right. Yes, it can. Is 1.22273. So we'll go with 1.2227 and make the sell order 1.2217. 1.2217. So that moves a little bit in the last few minutes. And of course, that becomes the stop loss for the buy. And away we shall go. All right, I have actually placed those orders. I'll do that now. So let me give you those parameters again. The buy order is for 1.2285. That is where we will enter our long order. And our stop loss on that will be at 1.2217. And the reverse of that, the sell order is 1.2217 with a stop loss at 1.2285. Let me have a look at yesterday and see what would have happened. It hadn't triggered when I went to bed, as I said. Where's the 9 o'clock bar? I think we were about there somewhere, weren't we? Oh, that's not even yesterday. I know it was a big one. That one there, right. So we were 15 pips above there, which would have been, what's the high of that? 1.2269, so 8.4, about 1 pip from where we are today. 8.4, which is there. So we would have been triggered long at that point.
When you finish there, mate, I think I'm probably going to place an order in here.
Right, mate, I'll need 2 ticks, 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
No
That
problem.
wouldn't have been a good result. Where was our stop loss? Maybe that's even still in. Stop loss would have been way down here. Yeah, obviously that hasn't been hit. So you'd still be in that trade, but you'd be negative at this point. I don't know if anybody is, but let's hope it kicks a goal for you. As I said, I cancelled it before I went to bed because it was just doing jack. When did it actually trigger? Way into US session. Yeah, okay. Right, mate, all yours. And I'll come back and do a bit of analysis later.
In fact, let me just give you guys the I'm going to give you guys the levels here. It's not going to be the order just yet, but I guess if you just in case you want to join me on it, I'm going to go short on the FTSE. I'm not quite placing it yet. I'm just going to let it develop just for a little while longer here. But it's going to be by market, so I'm going to just sell it off by market. But I'm just going to wait for just to see how it reacts against this line here. And after I've seen that, then I will be going short. So you might want to work out what your what your stop loss will probably have to be. Let's just see where it should go just safely here. Okay, well, it's so far the way it's reacting is positive, which means that I'm not going to trade it. So if it doesn't manage to get through here, then I might well trade it. But let me just check. All right, stop loss is going to be 58, so about 60 pips up, just above this bar here. So 60.44 is going to be the stop loss. So that's all I've got right now. I'm just gonna give you the stop loss. So it looks like we've got some time because it's going through at the minute. So it's going to be entry's going to be by market, but the stop loss is at 60. Let's call it 60.60. No, 60.50. That's where the stop loss will end up being, 60.50. Probably doesn't need to be quite that high. But you'd have to work out, if you're going to go in by market, work out your percentages. Now, there's an inverted head and shoulders here, so this might well want to pop to the upside, which is why I want to see how it reacts against this line. I think setting a limit order here is too dangerous. I think there's every chance we could fail, but there's every chance we could go through. So I'm going to give it a little while and just make a judgment call as the market progresses here. At this stage, there's no trade. At this stage, there's nothing to do. And it's possible that if we get a close above, I might even switch positions and be looking at a long. I mean, that's literally how I feel about this market right now, mate. And maybe that means that I end up not trading it at all, because I'd need to get some genuine clarity here for me to want to trade it. And at this stage, I don't have it. I just think that setting a trade at a price is just not enough. I want to see how does it react. And you can see it's just weakening off a little bit off that price. But I think I need just a bit of clarity. And that's just, you guys might not need as much clarity as that. I might be quite happy to take this trade because the pattern is good enough for you, but I can't do that. So what I'm doing right now is actually not watching the pattern. I'm now watching the price action, and I'm watching the price action and seeing how the price action is unfolding here. There we go. Need to see it like that. And just seeing it kick around. So yeah, there's nothing just yet, mate. But I just wanted to get everybody just ready, just in case I take a trade, because it will be by market if I'm going to take it. I'm just watching how the bar flickers around, and then I'll make a judgment call on what I see from the flickering around. Just checking the orders going through.
Right, mate. Do you want me to whip around the ground?
Yeah, let's have a whip around the grounds, and we'll come back to this every sort of like clear on the plan, hopefully.
Oakley dokley. I'll start with euro dollar, talking majors, of course, here only. And
good morning, Adam.
There it is, euro dollar. Wow, what a complex scenario we have here. Well, actually, it's pretty straightforward, but it's a complex structure that we can actually see here. You see the descending triangle, which may or may not be clear to you. It's pretty clear to me. Going down with these highs, which are continually lower, and along with these lows, which are continually the same. By definition, that is a descending triangle. Now, populist theory would have this breaking to the low side, and I'm okay with that, but I'm also of the opinion that it could just as easily break to the high side. So all the triangle is, to mine, is a structure, and that structure represents highs and lows. And if I'm wanting to trade long, I like to trade off the low side. If I'm looking to trade short, I like to trade off the high side. So what I'm looking for here is something to tell me that the high side is not the place to be. And that will generally occur as a false break of resistance, in my humble opinion. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for price to show me that it doesn't want to go above these highs here, which is the complexity of the structure. because it also within this triangle, we have a pretty clear rectangle as well. You could even take that back to here and maybe even use the same lows. So this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing, because it tells me that that level there in confluence with this level here is quite strong. So I want to play off it. Now, I don't really care if I play long or short in terms of what happens next, but my preference, as I said, is always to play short off resistance. So that's the first thing I'll look for. First up, we have to have either a break or a bounce off the top of this rectangle, triangle, whatever, don't care. You can throw in a horizontal level running across here as well. But breakout here will either be, okay, let's think about a long as if we get a retest of that without coming back inside the range, or if we amble around and then come back inside the range, in particular, if we came back underneath the monthly pivot and the confluence area here, then I'd be very happy to place a short. And that is probably the preferred way to go. But, you know, like we pontificated over the last week or so, we've really gone into this consolidation area, and direction is very, very difficult to determine. But as I said, this is not a bad thing for us. This is a good thing for us. We've just got to be ready to read the signals, and when they come, apply them as a trade. So if we go to the 30-minute chart, looks a bit messy, but we can work out where we want to trade on this particular chart. And we're happy to trade there. Maybe as a break and retest of the confluence daily pivot and trend line. If this were to become a high, then we could put another trend line through there, and in concert with the top of the triangle here, we'd look for the false break. Now we could also sneak one in here, but it's probably going to be the same thing, may not be. So we've already potentially got a false break on our hands. We just have to wait for price to come back underneath here and again retest it, and then away we shall go. There is, since we've got them in our thought process, the hint of a bit of a head and shoulders here, left, head, right. That's yet to form. If it does, again, that's going to give me a pretty of an offset neckline, which is probably here. And if that were to break and be retested, then short is definitely the sport for me. So I'm a big fan. If we can come back under here and get a retest, I will be looking short. Dollar yen, I'm still looking short this one, but our entry is way, way, way beyond where we have price at the moment. And that level, so I'm trading this on a weekly chart, yeah.
Oh, just really quickly, mate. I just saw Custer just saying that he's in a long trade on the UK 100. If you're in a long trade, mate, I'd leave it run, because it looks okay. It looks all right. If you've seen enough to make you to encourage a long, there's nothing at this stage suggesting that there's a short on. Well, in fact, there's a few things suggesting there's a short on, but it's not developing that way. So actually, if you got a good price, then I would stick with it, and we'll come back and analyze it after Jeff's finished. But it looks all right. It looks stable enough. I think we're going to get a bit of a choppy day today. That is my issue. Long short, I'm just not sure, and I think that's the reason why I think the market isn't talking. I thought it was me, but I don't think it is actually, mate. I think the market is just not quite clear itself.
Carney's reign is over, isn't it?
Carney's reign's over. Yes, it is.
I just noticed that we've got the Bank of England Governor Bailey speaking today.
Yes, he is. Yeah, do you know what? I didn't realise. Is this his first day? There must be.
Well, it must be, I suppose.
It must be his first day. Oh, well, we better have a party.
I'm always up for one, you know that.
Sorry, mate. I didn't want to start you in full flow, but I just didn't want Custer to come out of his trade when it's not really shaping up for downside either. So if you got a trade on, then I'd let it unfold at this stage.
Okay, he was inducted in March.
He was inducted in
So,
March. Yeah.
well, it says he's the governor from March 2020 to March 2028.
Oh, there you go. We're on top
What's
of
he
things.
saying? Yeah, right. Nothing wrong with the up-to-date news. Due to testify with 3 Monetary Policy Committee members on the economic impact of COVID-19 before the Treasury Select Committee. That's kind of interesting. Okay. When's that? That's at 2:30 your time, which
2:30.
is now, what's the time your place now? 8:15.
Just on 8, yeah. Just on 8, yeah.
While to wait, about 5 hours and 6 hours and 15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we won't be too concerned about that till it happens. I wouldn't think. I don't know that anybody be preempting what they're going to say, so I can't imagine there'd be position trading going on. We shall see. Funnier things have
Well,
happened.
there's a hint of negative interest rates. There's a talk of negative interest rates in the UK, so he might just, bring that into focus, a little bit more. Maybe we get a bit of pound later on. I mean, we'll have a look at that because possibly, I mean, that's going to go on during the US session, the US show. So maybe we'll have a look at the pound during that session and see if there's anything tradable there.
Chandra, that's a bit cheeky. Am I still in 2019? Mate, I reckon I'm still in 1975.
Year of birth.
It was a much better time. I definitely felt more sprightly, I can assure you of that.
Yeah.
We've got holidays in Europe tomorrow. We've got the Swissy, the French, and the Germans all having a little bit of a break. What was that for? Let me have a look. Ascension Day. Righto, I'll believe them. I hope they have a lovely time. All right, back to my thought processes. Actually, my thought processes are more there in holidays than they are on the market at the moment. That's got to change. Righto, what we've got here on dollar yen, and I'm thinking, okay, can we get into a short here before our weekly trade? Well, of course we can, and I'll be looking to do that. So the structure here is not 100 per because, like Ash was talking about before, I can see a massive head and shoulders here, an inverted head and shoulders here. And if that's the case, that's the neckline for me. And the good part is that hasn't broken, I suppose. You could even straighten it up and call that the neckline, I guess. I'll go with this one. I like offset necklines. They do wonderful things for me. So what
Yeah,
do
I
we?
think that's about right.
Yeah.
When you look at the shoulders, they look like they're angled as well, don't they?
Yeah. Here to here. Actually, we might as well put it in. Whilst we're talking about, we might as well put it in. If it looks like a channel and it smells like a channel, it's probably a channel. There you go.
Tight.
As my good friend Greg Evans used to say, that's a perfect match. Did you have a perfect match show in the UK, mate?
A perfect match? What's that?
Television. Well, they try and put lovey-dovey people together. They hide them behind a screen and they ask them a whole heap of questions.
Oh, it's called Blind Dates where we are.
Yeah. Perfect Match was a modernized version of Blind Date.
Oh,
okay. I say modernized, 1975. Everything happens in 1975.
Yeah.
And today it does anyway. So let's take a look at now the more complex structure that we have. And 3 things going on here. We've got a longer term channel that's descending. We've got a shorter term channel that's ascending, and we've got an inverted head and shoulders. Try and work that out. The one thing that is common, of course, is if you can see where my stop loss is, that has been strong support in the past, bit of resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here. So on the score of where do I want this to go next, it probably isn't in concert with the inverted head and shoulders. But I'm not a massive fan either of an inverted head and shoulders in that particular situation. I much prefer to see it down here somewhere. So I'm in a pretty good spot here as far as context is concerned. What I'd like to see is price to pierce its way back underneath the weekly pivot here, then come back and test this area with a shoulder, or not a shoulder, just a lower high to match that one, if you like. And then that would be a signal to test the short side. So again, very, very similar to what I described, I suppose, on euro dollar. Dollar yen, I'm also looking for shorts. Now, if I go to the 30-minute chart, that's on its way to doing what we asked it to do, which is to break the pivots, right? Now, far better if we can find confluence here somewhere with a trade line or something like that. There's one there that should fit the bill. So what we'd like to see is a break, close below the monthly pivot, then come back and retest that area. That would be a nice signal for us to have a crack at a short. Don't want to go short until this low here and the monthly pivot are broken, however. So that would be my recommendation there. Aussie US dollar. The daily pivot came to price rather than the reverse, which is what I'd like to see. I'd much prefer to see the daily pivots stay still and price come to it. That's not what happened, as overnight we've, as you can see now, crowded around the daily pivot, and we're not going too far away from it at present. So that takes away our little edge that I like to call it. But this is looking interesting as a big re-entry back inside this range here, which is, if we go a little bit wider, you can see clearly high, 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 low, low, low. And this is definitely a potential break, bounce off the top towards the bottom. So that's exactly what I'll be looking for. That support trade line is one option on the 30-minute chart. Another option, and the preferred option, would be, and it'll probably be very much the same actually, would be if we break resistance, fail to take out this high, get back underneath the support area, and then retest it. Again, you've got to watch this little blighter here. The low of the day is something that I will not trade into without taking profit. So best case scenario here is going to be this. That's different. I must have my phone on silent. Good. You don't hear the rings. There it is. So best case scenario is this. Price up to here. A little bit of consolidation. Back underneath. And take out that low. So I'm going to close below there. Then come back and retest. That. All of the above would be ideal. You could take a higher risk trade by entering there, short. You could take a lower risk trade by entering there, short. That would be my option. And the target is extremely clear. It's the weekly pivot. So if we were to get into a position like that, you could look at taking profit probably here, just above DS1. And then that's your first TP1. That's TP1 there. Oh, that's very scribbly. The level, I'll give you the level in case you guys don't have the pivots on your chart or they're in a slightly different position. The level that I would like to see TP1 taken would be did I say that was DR1? Why would I say such a thing? Entering there, DS1. That's what I should have said. The level will be 65.05. So that would be my first take profit. And the target, without a shadow of a doubt, would be around about 64. You could even go there. 64, 67 would be the target on this. So Aussie dollar. If that does set up, I'm a willing and able participant. Now the pound, no entry there, of course, on our breakout trade. If I'm thinking trading pound today, what do I see? I see price has broken clear. It's come back inside the range, but only barely. In fact, I got caught on this morning. I traded pound Swissy, and I know we've got another trade on pound Swissy short on a bigger time frame, but I also tried it on a 4-hour chart this morning, and that's already gone. That didn't work at all. And this is very, very similar to that, where price came back inside the range, but immediately gave us a retest and then did absolutely nothing since. So I'm not that keen on this, I've got to say, but it's interesting that we've also broken this trend line or trade line. We come back and test that and don't break below it. That again is a potential entry. And again, Ash, another inverted head and shoulders pattern pretty much developing there as well. So if we were to get here, maybe that's a go. I don't think I'm terribly against that. That's the 4-hour chart, of course. The 30-minute chart, yeah, it's not as clear. I think I'd probably prefer to wait for this scenario, although it may happen lower. It may. Yeah, I'm asking a bit now. No, not necessarily. All right, 2 options. Let me get rid of that resistance trend line there. And we'll go here. All right, so there are our support levels. And one of 2 things. Option 1. Price stays where it is for another 4 minutes, then gets back above the trend line, then comes back and retests both the trend line and the daily pivot, like so. High risk entry here, low risk entry here. TP1 high of the day, just below it. You'll probably be inclined to let this one run a little bit because of the position that we are in. It just could take off. So yeah, just watch that one. Option 2, price comes down to here, consolidates a bit, gets back above there, retests it. High risk trade there, lower risk trade there. TP1, yeah, depends where you enter. TP1 may be the daily pivot. And if that doesn't, no, I won't give you too many options. Let TP1 be the daily pivot, unless it's only a few pips, then you might pick a support and resistance area, something like that. And then same thing, leave TP2 to break out. If it doesn't look like it's going to break here and stays for a while, just close it at that level. So there are a few options unfolding here, Ash. We've just got to have...
you know, I'm looking at this FTSE and you know, my problem is I've got a more of an I'm just leaning towards the long. I just you know, the way that this has developed this morning, it looks really weak, but I'm leaning towards the long. I mean, there's only really the inverted head and shoulders massively in its favor on this short term thing, but something doesn't suggest to me we're going short, and I'm quite keen on the long, and I might well take a long if we come down just a little bit further, test the bottom of the right shoulder again. I might take a long, but it is a punt. I mean, that's the thing. It's just it'd be going in very, very light, because that's just the way that the market is today. Looks like there's just very light volume today, mate. Not seeing yeah, just not a whole bunch, and you know, you guys can really see this when you look at your market watch window. Look at the colors change. Look at the way that the numbers are moving. Pretty slow, right? I mean, there's the odd flicker here and there, and that tells you really that there's just a lack of conviction really today. Well, so far at this time, actually, let's not kind of write the whole day off, but so far it just looks like there's a bit of a lack of conviction out there.
Well, as I say, there's a few things on the simmer. I won't say on the boil because they're definitely not that, but the potential here is definitely evident. And Sanjay, I agree with you. That's one of the reasons I'm looking for a short here. But the other is I'm so waiting for the Aussie to get down to this monthly pivot, and I've been saying that since I think here. So that's now, what, 2.5 weeks ago. Goodness me, I'm a patient person. I was about to say something completely
I know what was coming.
Yeah, you knew what was coming. I did very well to hold myself back.
You did.
Oh dear. Right. So this is the whole thing, right? We're looking for a short here on the Aussie, and yeah, the options I gave you before. Dollar CAD, opposite way, of course, and not quite there. Interesting. Let me have a look at that closer. Where we are looking for price to get back above that trend line, but failed. Well, kind of tried and failed there, tried and failed there. I think if it were to get back there and give us the retest, then that's exactly what we're looking for. Should present us with a higher low. And because we're now back bouncing off the bottom of the range, we're looking for longs. Of course, the other side of the coin there is that it has failed to get back above this trend line, and there is a potential for this to bounce. I don't see that right now, I've got to say. And I do like the big bullish engulfing bar. I would like it if we got back above here and retested. And I would look to trade this long, most definitely. G'day, Lewis, on the road again. Lewis can't wait to get on the road again. Oh, well, we're on YouTube. Whoops, sorry. sorry, YouTube. Sorry. Oh, how's Willie? Willie hasn't been well.
Has he not?
No. I must look that up. We'll get a bit of Willie next week.
Oh, we're talking about Willie Nelson?
Yeah.
Oh.
Which Willie were you talking about?
I thought we were Willie from the Crew.
Who's the Crew? Oh, our Willie. Right, yeah. Willie Tan. Right, yeah. Gotcha. I thought you were talking about a private part of the male persona.
No, nothing to do with my persona. No. Oh, Willie Nelson's not well. Well, I didn't know that, mate. I didn't know that. Well, we'll maybe.
Well, is there any wonder?
Well, probably not. He's about 80, isn't he?
Oh, he looks about 97.
97, yeah. He does. You know, he's not a young man.
No, he's not. But he's definitely not waiting to get on the road again at the moment.
So this is a different type of road, maybe.
Yes, maybe. Wow, he tucked some weed into him, that dude. That's for sure. Can't be good for you, Ash. I don't think. Dollar Swissy. We were talking about dollar Swissy. Look at this. This is like Skippy. Boing, 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 all off the monthly pivot rather, and every single one of them has gone just about to the top of this range. So nice big bounces. Horrible bars there, but it did exactly as you would like it to do. If you were trying to follow that, good luck. Gee whiz, if you could trade that, awesome. But no. What we're looking for here, of course, is a bounce again and back to the top of the range. The thing, of course, is giving us the opportunity to trade that. And on the 4-hour chart, that hasn't been very, very easy. So let's zoom into some tighter range rather, and higher low. It's a pretty simple formula, really. That's what we're waiting for. And goodness knows where it bounces to. Let's say there, looks a likely contender. So if we were to bounce to there, come back and give us a higher low, or if it breaks there, comes back and gives us a higher low, that's probably even better. We could then look to trade it long. So that's dollar Swissy. Last one, Kiwi US dollar has struggled to get through the top of our range. That, of course, we started when 3 weeks ago. No, it can't be that long. It feels like 3 weeks ago. It is, I can't see the weekly pivot. That time must be longer than that, actually. Let me change the color of the weekly pivot so I can, no, better still, I'll change the color of this. That makes things easier. Maybe there. Yeah. Okay, so that's a lot more than 3 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've been in this range for 6 weeks. And is that likely to change anytime soon? Well, not what I'm seeing, I must say. And, you know, if you were ballsy, you could probably even place an order underneath that bar there. I don't think I'm going to fall into that trap, because the weekly pivot's just lingering not far underneath that. What I'd much prefer to see, of course, as always, is price come back into here, give us the lower high, and then we can go. But this is looking promising also. I didn't realize I had that many structures that were active at the moment, but it looks like I've got heaps of them. So yep, that's the preferred option. Get back into here, smaller time frame. Can we think about it at the moment? Not really. We could use that one probably tomorrow. We could use this one. No problem. That would look okay to me. But here's the issue again. This little low of the day, it's a bugbear in my, or a thorn in my side most days. And again, that may be the case. So here's the best case scenario for this one. Well, certainly now, the best case would be up to here, back underneath, and retest. Look, all things are possible. And if that were the case, then yes, we can go. TP1 at the daily pivot, target monthly pivot. In the other mode of trading that, we could go clean break, take out the low, then come back and test that. The problem with that is if you were to enter here, you bang on the monthly pivot. So, and the entry here is, of course, far higher risk, but in this case, may well be worth the reward, because you could then take your TP1 there. And if you want to play this in 3 parts, you could take TP2 there and let the rest run to there. I wouldn't be against that at all. And if that were to be the case, by that time we'd be back in profit on the weekly trade, which was this one, and we'd be having a good old time on Kiwi US dollar. You've got to have a good imagination sometimes, Ash, haven't you? But that's pretty much around the grounds. And at this point in time, I agree with you. There's not a whole lot happening.
Yeah, I've got a FTSE which has drifted to the downside. It's in a buy zone, but I'm even struggling to make that justification. And you know what? It might be one of those days that you just say, you know, this is the day that you take one less bad trade. You know, and I wonder whether I've got that. I'll quickly show you the screen.
Just before you do, mate, Alan,
yep.
Yes, that trade is on the weekly chart. And sorry, if you want the parameters, there they are. We are short underneath this bar here, right? So we're in drawdown at the moment. But if you wanted to replace that, I've got no problem with that. I think that's perfectly fine. There are the parameters. 59.85 is your sell entry. Stop loss of 61.85, TP1, which we have already taken. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for you, I've got to say. And yeah, I would actually counsel you not to take the trade, because you're going to enter a far more risky position than we are in, because we've got very little risk left in this one. So yeah, up to you, but I wouldn't do it. I'll put it that way. There was another one, sorry. Thoughts on euro dollar. We did go through it. You must have been late into the room. My thoughts on euro dollar today are we look for a short, but we wait. We wait until we've got either a false break on the bigger picture, which are these structures, rectangle or triangle. So we want to get under here and retest. On the 30-minute chart, same thing, exactly the same thing. So we could, if this candle was to close where it is now, and then we got back underneath here, the trick is we've got to either have one of two things. We don't want to trade into that low without taking profit. So we could go bang, bang, trade it from there, take profit before you hit here. Or if you want to be super risky, don't worry about that. No, I'm not going to say that. Do worry about that. It's the low of the day. Don't trade into it on a 30-minute basis without taking profit. So that's going to be the tricky part. You could clear the whole lot and then come back and retest. Maybe that's the way to go. But on a smaller time frame, you're talking, 5, 6 to 10 pips of profit. That's all you need for your TP1. And then you can look to trade it to the bottom. Sorry, mate. Just thought I'd catch those people.
No problem, mate. No problem. And you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether this is going to be a trade for everybody anyway. Because what we've got here really is, I mean, it's incredibly contrarian. But I'm actually looking for the long in this area, and it's because of the inverted head and shoulders. But we've still got the daily pivot there, just causing an issue. But I just don't see this market breaking down. You know, I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, well, actually, if it's not going to break down, this isn't a bad area for a long in many respects. So I am. Let me just have a look. 26 pips to the downside. So stops would be down there. Oh gosh. Problem is, there's just no room. You know, if there was enough room to that daily pivot, then this would be worth it. This would be well worth it, but I don't think there's enough room to the daily pivot because you'd need to take profit there. We seem to be in a bit of a crossfire. You know, I don't know if you want to call it a crossfire, but a bit of a crossfire market today, where it's just going to pop down, pop up, pop down. So the daily pivot would be the target for a first take profit, and then going through. I didn't see enough that suggested that we should be looking for a longer term move to the downside here. Which is why, you know, when we wait for it to come down to this right shoulder area, it does actually present itself as a bit of a long. You know, picking it up on a right shoulder is a great place to try and pick it up. I just don't know whether there's enough room for everybody to take profits, and that's the only reason. That's the only reason I wouldn't go long here. Just not enough room to make the trades safe. But you know, the actual move to the upside, I think, is coming. I think that there's probably a move from this point at minimum to the daily pivot. Then after that, who knows? But as I say, mate, there's not enough room to justify taking it, and I might just leave today and say, you know what, it might be one of those days. You just don't take one less bad trade, and today might be the day. There's and not to say that it will get up to this level. For me to presume it's going to get up to that level is definitely in. You know, I definitely think it will get up to that level, but it's a bad trade because there's not enough room between taking profit and your stop, unless you're trading a completely different money management strategy, which is difficult to really sell. I mean, it's possible that it goes through there as well. So I suppose the only other way to play it is by taking it. If it gets up to that point, you could put stops at break even, and then see if it goes through to take your half off and make it safe from where you are. But I don't see any other way to play it, and I've got a bit of a problem with that, if I'm honest. So I don't have anything, mate. I don't have anything that I can offer, except that I think the market is going up today. Or at very bare minimum, well, not today in this session. I think at the very bare minimum, it's holding. I don't think we're going lower. I think that at the minimum we are going to be caught in where we are. I don't think we're going to be breaking down today.
Yep. Okay, mate. That's fine and dandy. I did mention pound Swissy earlier. Alan mustn't have been there. I didn't show you it though. Let's go through that. I actually didn't know that I put that 4-hour trade on in this show. Obviously, I did. Let's go there and show you how that didn't work. And, better not do that. And here's what happened. We're not already short, but we have a short order in place, and no need to cancel that order, by the way, guys. That's still in vogue. There's a short underneath this candle here. Might want to change your stop loss, though, to above this bar here. So I'll give you the parameters on that again. I'll put that on the screen. The entry will change the order. Will be at 1.1725, and the stop loss will be at 1.1939. So 1825, 1939. 1825, 1939. Okay, that should be it. So we've got pound Swiss. Why is that not doing it? There we go. Pound Swiss. Daily chart. Sell at 1.1825. With your stop loss at 1.1939. Ooh, different font. That's sexy. TP1. TP1 needs to be in this vicinity somewhere. I can't find a great level. Let's use that one. 1.1665. So I'll probably change the entire trade. TP1. 1.1665, I think I said. Okay. I'll just check that TP1. Yeah, that's fine. 1.1625. Righto. So that is that pound Swissy trade, which failed dismally on us yesterday. Sell, pound Swissy sell cancelled. Was that the weekly one? Which pound Swissy trade? This one? This pound Swissy trade is based on a break and retest of the bottom of the range. And the other one is based on a false break. So a single candle false break that may well still be on. And I'll keep my eye on that, don't worry. But it also coincided with a break and retest of not only the bottom of the range, but the weekly pivot and this resistance trade line. That was H4, yes. If it cancelled before you got into it, excellent judgment by the cancellation person, whoever that is, because it didn't work. And as I say, this may not be over yet, and I will continue to monitor it. But at this point, I'm still happy to leave the short in the market. And that is all at this point. Pound trade has not been triggered as yet. There's the parameters on those. 2217 is the sell order, and the stop loss at 1.2285 and the reverse of that. And I don't think there's anything else. So I'll just very quickly have a look at the 30-minute charts. Nothing there at the moment.
It's difficult to know what's been. There's something's been waited on for sure. You know, there's a complete lack of conviction so far this morning. I mean, we're not even to the first hour yet, but it is like watching paint dry. You know, watching the price action is what is like watching paint dry, and I think it's going to be a tough session to make money. I might be wrong because you can't, you know, it's something impossible to know what kind of brings the market to life. But I'm not seeing anything, you know, when I'm looking at the charts, I'm not seeing anything which suggests to me that we're going to get enough movement to make some money today, or anything decent today, or anything decent this morning. US session, completely different matter. I think maybe we do get something during the US session, because we had a Donald Trump speech yesterday, so maybe there's going to be a little bit of hangover from that. It might not be, I don't know, but certainly the way I'm looking at this right now, there's just nothing doing. We had numbers from the UK this morning. What else we got? We got yeah, maybe the Bank of England, mate. FOMC minutes as well later on tonight at 7 UK time. Maybe that could do something. Might just be a bit of a quiet day today, though. We've got a slew of data tomorrow, so it's possible that Thursday's our day.
Is there a world versus China? Good question.
That's a great question. And you know what, LT? There was one thing that Donald Trump said yesterday, which I thought was quite interesting. So last night he signed an order to effectively relax regulation, so the US can kind of get back to work. And there was just one little hint about him not pointing the finger at China, but just intimating a little bit that they were going to be going back to America first and protectionism. He didn't really. It wasn't really fully exposed. And I wonder whether over the coming weeks we might have further that particular rhetoric might have further to run. So the world versus China may develop, and that there's no doubt that we're waiting on something like that. Something is bubbling, isn't it? And people aren't reacting on that just yet, but something is bubbling away. When do we have? We got a load of. Is it a G7 coming up or something?
This week we've got nothing, a lot of speeches, a bit of manufacturing stuff coming out. Next week we've got, G7's now.
G7's now. Okay, all right. So yeah, I don't know. Not quite sure what would have happened with that one, but yeah, there's things that are bubbling along, and we haven't had an announcement yet, but we've got to be really aware of news at the minute, because that's the era we're in, and this is why when the setup matches the news, it makes it a lot easier to trade, and that's really what happened to me with this trade. With the FTSE, there are short setups. There's no doubt about it, but the speech I heard from Carney and who was it? He was speaking Mnuchin, and also Donald Trump weren't negative. They were quite buoyant, and even when they were boxed in a corner by a few tricky questions, they managed to bat them away fairly succinctly. So because of that, I found the short really difficult to then stay in, and I ended up kind of coming out of my shorts, and I feel like we've got a bit of a hangover of that today. Tomorrow we've got a slew of data. We've got we've got Bailey out today as well. But tomorrow we got a slew of data, and we've got some more from the FOMC. So maybe we're just waiting, mate. Maybe we're just in a bit of a holding mode right now, and we really do need to see this market just relax a little bit into a direction that it's going to stick to. But yeah, there's nothing really kind of like filtering through that suggests to me that we should be looking at the short. But I think there might be just enough tension, really down to that world versus China. There might be just enough tension just to keep people just on the back foot a little bit. Yes, Starmax saying because of the election, totally agree. I totally agree. I wonder whether he's being a little bit quiet because of the election. I wonder whether if we were in year one, or if this had all happened this time next year, I wonder whether Donald Trump would have gone after China a lot harder than he's doing. He seems to be focusing a lot of his vitriol against the WHO rather than China. So I think there's a lot in that. Trump seems to distance from Australia. What do you know anything about that, mate?
Yes, a little bit. There's a lot of sanctions or cancelled trade agreements supposedly going on around the world with Trumpy. So much cancelled may not be the right word, but he's, as you said only minutes ago, back to the let's make America great again. It's all about promoting manufacturing of their own goods. It's all about being self-sufficient. And a lot of those contracts that are you know, for steel and all sorts of resources. I can't remember the exact one that I heard, but that was, again, produced a very straight bat from the Prime Minister here, saying that we'll be okay. Donald and I are like that, right? We've got it. Everything's okay. I don't know, and I said this the other day, Xi Jinping versus Scott Morrison, only one winner. Donald Trump versus Scott Morrison, only one winner there as well. So I'm not sure how strong Trump is with that. Of course, we are one of their stronger allies in times of difficulty. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But,
which I suppose is LT's point. You know, do we get a situation where you get the likes of America, Australia? Well, I mean, Europe doesn't seem to be so keen on it, but maybe Europe and the UK on one side of the argument, and then China and its allies on the other side of the argument.
Oh well, yeah, that's all shaping up like that, isn't it? Really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think, and there's no doubt that Australia, you know, relies heavily on China for trade, no question. But certain, and I said this last night, I think, certain resources, and I sound like I'm kind of bleating our own trumpet here, but the quality of resources that come out of Australia are very, very good in the resource sector. So they're not only sought after by the Chinese. The fact that they are so good quality will probably long term even out a little bit. If China said tomorrow we do not trade with Australia anymore, that would be an absolute slap in the face, no question. And the economy would go through a bit of turmoil, and certainly the Aussie dollar would tumble very, very quickly. I have no doubt about that. But I think ultimately, because of the quality of the produce that is available for the export market, there would be other countries holding their hand up. And that, of course, has to be qualified by saying if they've got any money left, because we don't know what's on the other side of COVID-19 just yet. So no. I really don't know. I don't know where there's a clear picture that says everybody comes out of COVID-19 the same as they were. I think that's very much not going to be the case, in fact. So, yeah, look, super duper question, and I don't have the answer to it, and I don't think many people do. LT, your logic is China and Australia is trade surplus to China. Yes, the interesting part about the resource sector with Australia and China is that China hold leases, 99-year leases on a whole lot of our ports, right? Strategically, the coal ports of Newcastle, I'm not sure about Illawarra. So they're not going to stop buying coal. That's for sure, I would think. They're also not going to stop buying iron ore and those types of, you know, heavy industry / products. So, and they, I think you'll find, make up a very big sector of Australia's trade. Yes, there's a deficit, no question, but I don't see those slowing down anytime soon, I've got to say. Yes, China will definitely suffer as well, no question. If they were to say that, okay, and it's not about to happen, in my humble opinion. We no longer trade with Australia. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the actual outcome.
There's potentially a new world order, though, isn't there, coming? And maybe this is the trigger.
Yeah, and you know, we go back to the beginning of COVID-19. This has been brewing for the longest time, and you know, stock market corrections were predicted 10 years ago. I think a lot of us were saying, yeah, this can't go on, this can't go on. And many thousands of pips later, it actually happened, but nothing triggered it. Nothing was there. The ultimate blocking point, I suppose, wasn't in place. And COVID-19 happened to come along, whether it's by design or otherwise, and I'm not going into that conversation, whether it's by accident or not, that was the catalyst for what we're seeing now. And it's not just COVID-19 that is shaping the market. The markets have been waiting for this for the longest time. And you know, you're seeing different players in the game as well. You're seeing digital currencies, for instance.
Yes,
You know,
really interesting. That's a really interesting aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, this is a different ball game this time around. Different reason to be in the situation. And if you go back to 2008, completely different reason. We had a financial crash back in 2008-9. This is an economic readjustment of the type we've probably not seen before, but for a completely different reason. So it's very hard to put a line through anything and say, well, okay, we've seen this before, and here's how we come out the other side. We haven't seen this before. We haven't seen, well, you know, in Depression days, you've got to go way back there. We've had similar circumstances, and gee whiz, any of my relatives, and certainly the generations 1 and 2 above me, gee, is that possible? We're talking Methuselah now. They will tell you that was a horrid time. So I have no doubt that we are going to see a horrid time as well. And, but not and. We haven't seen the likes of this, certainly in my lifetime. Economic crashes have come and gone, no question, but this is completely different. And I don't think we can say exactly the same outcomes that we saw coming out of 2008 and 1987. You go back there, all those crashes that have happened in between times. It's not going to look the same. And as I say, there are other players in question now. We have digital currencies. We have all sorts of things going on. We have potential for viruses, and you know, we've been speaking about super viruses for the longest time as well. We have potential for countries to come out of global economics, and I think we're starting to see that. The global economy is shifting. There's no question in my mind about that. But what that looks like on the other side, I really don't know. But are China going to stop buying coal anytime soon? No, don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's certainly an interesting debate, which will you know, continue to rage. Well, I think we're pretty much done, mate. I don't have anything else. The FTSE still looks like it's holding up pretty well. I think if custard, if it's still in that long, I think it's okay. I think it's all right. I don't, you know, I've got no real conviction on either side of the coin today, to be honest. And I think it's because the markets are just illustrating that it's a bit choppy, and there are strategies to trade that. There's no doubt about it. Which is just, you know, buy the low and sell the high. It's pretty much as simple as that. Don't expect. Oh, geez, Roy, you should have been well out of that. So yesterday we were talking about. Maybe you missed it. We were talking about silver and saying that that silver, if it breaks through the upper band, then we just want to get out. The stops. Now let me just make sure I can bring a chart that you guys can see here. It was this one here. I mean, you're not in too bad shape in some respects, but if you're still in that one, but but you you should be out of this trade, you know, because what we were looking at was this area here.
So yeah,
this area, that area there, you know, penetrating that area was going to be the trigger to say that this the downside is not going to happen as soon as you got through that area. But we put stops up there. That was the stop loss line. But if this area, you know, was going to get taken out, then we were going to get out of that trade, because, you know, to my mind, there's no point. Why would you let your trade go all the way up there and stop you out when we're trading this pattern here? We were trading effectively this this triangle pattern that was going on. So as soon as that triangle pattern gets breached, then the trade needs to be closed. You know, and then you effectively, I don't know what we were in around about there, weren't we? 36 down. Yeah, you almost save half the trade. You certainly save a third of it. You know, even if you wait for this one to close, you still save a big chunk of your stop loss. So that's why the way that I do it is that I say stop loss in a place where it gives me some room to watch the charts. And the reason that I do that is in case of a spike. You know, what I don't want to see is something that does, let's say this bar did this instead. It opens up, it comes up, but then it closes at the low. If that was to happen, then we want to stay in the trade. So it just gives us a little bit of room to maneuver if we put stops far enough away. But when this closes up here, that should be minimum. That should be a trigger to get out. But really, while we were watching this one, it was on the move. So you should really be getting out before that point even occurred, because it gone way beyond the point where it was going to be throwing up and throwing back down again. But you should really be out, and you're going to get out pretty much the same level here. But you should be out of this trade. There's no way that you should still be in this. Because when I see this and we trade in this short, what I'm saying really, what I would suggest is that we should be breaking down. So if we're not breaking down, either we're breaking up, or at bare minimum, we're forming a new pattern, which means that we're not trading this pattern anymore. So, if the pattern I'm trading is breached, then I'm wrong. And it's time to get out. No worries, Roy. Now, somebody was just asking, who was it? Emmanuel was asking opinion about Aussie Swiss. Let's just quickly do that before we.
And Shukri wants to know how to short Just Eat as well, or Just Eat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have a look at that. Okay, great. We might email to do that in the US show. Right, where's the Aussie Swiss? Is this on a daily, Emmanuel? I presume it is, because it's looking weak, isn't it? And it's another one that's showing a head and shoulders. You got this here, you got this here, and you got this here. So because I think you're new to trading, I'll just let you know what the head and shoulders is, and it's a distribution pattern, and it shows us that that the product that we are looking at is being effectively sold. At that point, it's being distributed out, and buyers are starting to distribute their longs, and this is a negative pattern. So you get a left shoulder, you get a head, and you get a right shoulder. And the key thing about it is that you've got a trend. This is still part of the trend, sort of like, from this point down here, you got a higher high, higher low, a higher high, higher low, and then well, it could be an equal, because you can have a neckline. This neckline slanted, but a neckline could be like that. That's the classic kind of head and shoulders. And you get this neckline, which provides the support. So it comes down to the neckline, bounces, comes down to the neckline, bounces. And when it bounces away, it creates a lower high. So that is an indication that we should not be looking at the longs anymore. Now, there's two ways you can trade it, but what I would suggest in the stage that you're at, it's better to wait and see, because they don't break down very often. They break down about a third of the time ish. But what you're waiting for is for that to break down and then come back up again. And when it tests the neckline, then you've got a lower high. So what we've got right now is this phase now. So we want to see it test the neckline, and we'd be looking for a short in that area. This is on an hourly chart. So you'd be looking for a short in this area to come down again. And the idea would be that wherever your shoulders are gives you a measured move. So the distance between the neckline and the peaks of the shoulders tells you how far down the head and shoulders, the price or the price point will potentially touch if the head and shoulders is playing out. So this one would suggest that if it's coming down, it comes down to about there. Now this one, if we look at this one, it's going to suggest that it's coming down around about there, which is close, and this line isn't even that tight. So it's given us the measured move of the breakout. So that suggests that it's probably here, and it starts to fly back up again, and then we're looking for downside. That's on an hourly, of course. Now, if you're looking at this on longer term timeframes, which you must also do, even if you are trading the hourly, what you've got, and I think this is quite important as well with the Aussie. Let's just have a look at some lines here. So that's got some room there. A little bit of room there potentially. That one there is providing, is presenting us with a potential double high, a double top, sorry. So the double top might be playing out. We might already be at our peak. Now let's have a look at the weekly and see if that gives us any more clarity. No, the weekly suggests that it possibly has got a little bit higher. Monthly. Yeah, monthly also suggests that we probably got a little bit higher as well. Let me just bring this down. So, at this stage, it looks like the Aussie's got probably just a little bit further to go before it does actually hit some heavy traffic. Will it get there? I don't know. We have already seen, when you look at this daily, we have seen this double top. Now, the last thing to do with the analysis. Now, here's your trend line. Now, it's not a short by any stretch. If you were looking at that hourly, the hourly suggests a short. But when we look at this daily, the daily doesn't suggest a short. The daily just suggests that that the hourly may well play out, and the hourly might well play out just to bring us back down to here, and then we bounce again. Possibly back up to these levels here. So it might have some more room to travel up. But it looks like there's some retracements, in the offing before we maybe go higher. Now, if this line was to give way, that would change the picture. So if instead of it bouncing at that point, it comes down, then we're starting to look at what would be a lower low here, and then we're looking for a return, and then potentially it moves down. But while it's above this trend line and while it's above this high, the trend is still up. So we're still looking at the long. But it looks like those shorter term timeframes are just about to step into a bit of retracement. And whether you trade those or not is really your choice. I mean, it wouldn't be my flavor. You'd be better off, rather than looking at shorting here, looking at long here. So if you see that, what it's suggesting is just don't do anything just for right now. Let this one come back here. And if it comes back there, then you can look for the long. Then you can look for the long opportunities. If they present themselves, then you can take it and you can aim for, these levels up here. But there's, even if you were trying to long here, it's just not a lot of room. Now, the other thing you want to check is how's the Aussie performing across the board. And if you look at the Aussie dollar, it's kind of a similar picture. It looks like there's a trend line along here, probably there somewhere. There's also this, what's now starting to look like a triple top. So there's a suggestion of some weakness here on the short term as well. This is an ascending triangle, which again you'd be doing your measured move from where the start of the triple top starts and the low end of the triangle, and that suggests that that's the measured move. So that brings you up there somewhere. Same thing on the way down. If it breaks down, you'd be looking at maybe hitting back to these lows down here. So you're looking, your bias should be long, but you're not in a buy zone. You know, this is a sell zone. It was sell here, it was sell here, and now we're selling again. Do you trade that short? Well, you know, it wouldn't be my particular flavor, but if if that's what you wanted to do on a shorter term time frame, no problem. But it might not be the safest trade you take. Aussie CAD. Again, you know, that's a bit more significant by the looks of things. This was in existence back in 2019. So Aussie CAD has hit a level of resistance which could actually start to collapse it. And you'd be waiting for a turnaround in that one, maybe to start looking for the short. Aussie Swiss, we were just discussing. Aussie Yen. Aussie Yen's broken out, but maybe a weak looking bar. Hasn't broken out with any real conviction. Let's have a look at this trend line along here. Yeah, see, I mean, all of these are long. You know, all of them are suggesting that the Aussies are long. Breaking through this area is pretty significant, but you still want a retracement. So it looks to me like really what you should be doing with the Aussie is just keeping an eye on it for right now. That's the Aussie Kiwi, and again, you know, a pretty significant level of resistance here on in 2009. So the Aussie right across the board is suggesting that we're going to get some short-term weakness. And if that short-term weakness transpires, then you're probably looking for a long at that point, rather than maybe trading it at this stage. No problem, Sanjay. No problem, Roy. What's the tool to draw? You're talking about for drawing, Sanjay? So I've got, because I've got GoToMeeting, sorry, not GoToMeeting, because I've got Zoom open. I've got drawing tools on Zoom, but you've got on your MT4, you've got yeah, you've got your tools, you know, on MT4. I mean, are you talking about the trend line? Because if you look at your MT4, where you see file, actually, can I bring this over? Hold on. Look at here. Where you see file here. You know, these are quite, all these tools are ready for drawing. You know, this is my trend line here. Actually, this is my trend line, so I can draw trend lines there. And if I don't, you know, and I can edit my trend line when I double click and I get my bubbles. I can right click my trend line. If I go trend line properties, it brings up this ray box in parameters. If I click ray, it extends out. If I want to kind of stop the line extending out, then I can take ray off, and then I can kind of use this as just a you know, trend line tools. So you can move that around. What's that, mate?
He's pretty versatile, that old Ray.
yeah, he's very versatile. Yeah, he's good. I prefer Ray on, and then I've got horizontal levels here. Another tool there. There's the vertical line tool as well. So you've pretty much got what you need there. And when you look at these down here, you can't really draw on MT4 in the same way. But if you look at these down here, no, actually not those. If you go to insert, then you can get shapes. And that's where you can, you know, you can draw kind of like, you know, head and shoulders patterns and things like that as well with shapes. So, and obviously you can double click and control shift, and you can move that around. So you can create sort of like certain things there, which might kind of show a that you got the head and shoulders there. But you don't have a pencil like tool like you do with Zoom. But there's a few tools that you can use on MT4 as well.
If you want to, but it's only for display purposes, Sanjay. There's a tool called Screen Marker. So screenmarker.com. It's free. you can use that, but it's only for demonstration. It's not, I'm pretty sure you can't capture the screen with it. So it's actually overlaying onto your screen. It's not embedding itself into the screen. I'm pretty sure that's the case, because I haven't used it for a long time, but I don't think you can actually capture it if that was your preference.
So the FTSE is now touching this. Now I don't know if anybody took that trade, but the FTSE is now touching this daily pivot. And now you've got a decision to make. If you manage to get in down here on the right shoulder, then you've got a decision to make whether you want to close half or move stops to break even, let it go. Entirely up to you. It still looks like a bit of a tricky day, but it doesn't look like it's breaking down. I mean, that's one thing that the analysis was right on. Didn't look like it was breaking down. So, yeah, looks all right. And it might even break up from here. Possibly might break up from here. That's pretty much all I got, I think, mate. I don't have too much else.
All right, mate. I'll point out one thing with the Aussie before we.
Oh, the music last night, Helen. It was amazing. We had "Pump Up the Volume" by Mars last night. I'm going to. I've got another little treat.
That was taking them back. That's actually bringing me forward. What was I going to show you? Aussie, wasn't I? Okay, so we spoke about this, right? If the Aussie broke and retested here, we could think about a short, but this little fella here that I mentioned at the time is a very, very important little tool. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I mean, he's a very important little number. And the reason is because it's actually the low of the day. And when I'm trading on a 30-minute chart, I do not trade into the low of the day without taking profit. But you can't take profit here. There's no room to take profit. So I cannot take that trade. What I can do is wait and use this line as hopefully a potential false break. So I'm still looking for the lower high. I don't have a clear one right now. But if this was to get up here, then find its way back underneath, take out the low in the meantime, then come back and retest that line, then I can go short. Too dangerous to trade into the low of the day for me right now. And that's the case with quite a few of these things at the moment. Can't go short here. That's the euro. You wouldn't want to do anything here. It's just a mess at the moment. So that's pretty much a common theme. The market hasn't got a lot of juice in it, I don't think. And Ash was talking about that before, and I agree with him. US session, maybe. Pound Swissy is at low of the day. Entry is at low of the day. Pound Swissy entry is at low of the day. You mean on the weekly chart? Pound Swissy entry is at low of the day. What chart, Shukri? Daily chart. Entry. Here, this one? Daily chart, no problem. 4-hourly chart, no problem. 30-minute chart, don't do it. 1.1825. 1.1825. Okay. 1.1825. 1.1825. I'm trying to get it. Low of the day yesterday here. Yep. That's right. Oh, so we're there now. Yes. Okay, I'm with you. That's the sell stop we have in. Really? Oh, okay. On the daily, gotcha. Right, it's this trade we're talking about. Now I'm with you 100%. Okay, all good. But as I said, daily chart, 4-hourly chart, no problem. 30-minute chart, don't do it. Okay, all on board. Excellent. Righto, guys, that's it for me for now. How about you, Ash?
Yep, it for me, mate, as well. We'll come back on the US show and see if there's anything transpiring here, but things look pretty stable right now. FTSE still looks like it's probably got some easing up to do as well, even from here potentially. So watch out for that daily pivot on your charts. Maybe a retest of it from above might be good. But let's see if it's a bit later on. It might be a bit later on in the day. I don't know, but I think I'm just getting my targets back into play, mate. I feel better about that. Looking at the FTSE and seeing it going higher, it's you know, not everything is tradable, but sometimes you just need to be just get some confirmation that how you're reading the chart is right. So it looks like my sights are back in.
It certainly helps, doesn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, bye-bye to you, Helen. Bye-bye to you, Chandru, and everybody. I will catch you when, Ash?
Oh, we'll see you tomorrow at 5 to 8.
That's the date. Don't be late.